I worked at a pet food distributor for 7 years where I was the director of business intelligence and pricing, and I reported to basically every executive in that company. My wife and I also had a small business in Pennsylvania where we ran an escape room for 4 years, and we built everything from scratch, including the puzzles, the rooms, everything. We had to do everything ourselves. And as many of you already know, I worked at Tesla for 4 years with a lot of overlap with that small business. And one of the main things that jumped out to me while I was working at Tesla is how much overlap there is between the skill sets and the talent that Tesla looks for and expects you to execute on versus running a small business or being a high-level executive or manager at a large company. What I like to do in this video is highlight those key points that overlap quite a bit with running your own business or being an entrepreneur so that you know what to expect in case you want to join the company or you're just curious to see how the company works and how people are expected to work. I strongly believe that Tesla's greatest side project, which I don't even think they're doing on purpose, is that they're training the next generation of entrepreneurs that are going to create amazing services and products for the world in the coming decades. And of course, there are many companies that work this way, especially startups or companies that are very, very focused on innovation. But what I like to do is give you insight into what I saw with my own 2 eyes with Tesla. The first thing that jumped out to me is that Tesla expects you to execute on projects or tasks or goals or visions that you have for the company with the minimum amount of resources humanly possible. And the reason why this is because Tesla tries to do everything from scratch. Tesla believes that the workforce that they have and the way that they approach problems allows them to get to the cheapest and best solution using first principles, meaning from the ground up. But what this means is that you rarely have what you need on hand to make those things happen. So one of the key things you have to do is to either figure out how to use existing tools to achieve what you need to do, or more importantly, you have to ask yourself, do I even really need the things that I think I need to execute what I need to do? Can I do a different approach or just completely bypass that thing to make that thing happen? And Elon very famously talks about the best process being no process and the best part being no part. It's exactly what that means in this scenario. In essence, you constantly have to ask yourself, do I really need this thing? And if I really badly need something, a product or a service or a tool to make something happen, how can I approach it so that I can use it as lean as humanly possible so that it costs the minimum amount to the company and it gets me exactly to where I need to go without any extra baggage or any extra fluff, looking constantly for the exact thing that you need to get something done. This applies in entrepreneurship because you're constantly having to figure out how to use existing things around you with the least amount of money possible. When you start a company, you don't have an unlimited budget. You have the opposite. You have a very limited budget unless you're somebody who's very well funded or is backed by a very big VC or somebody that's giving you a lot of funding. You rarely have enough cash to make what you want happen. You have to get really clever and you have to be very smart about how you spend that money. Which segues me to the second point that really jumps out to me while I was working at Tesla, is that you're constantly expected to minimize your costs as much as humanly possible across every single thing that you touch. This doesn't mean like, hey, let's use the cheapest thing possible. Let's find the cheapest possible solution. No. What we really have to focus on is sitting down and figuring out, okay, the end impact to this thing, is it going to cost more for the company? Or are there other things or other ways that we can approach the problem to try and minimize costs entirely? And this kind of ties to the first point, because a lot of times you don't need the things that you think. And so if you remove a part or a process or a service or a tool, that typically directly means that you're spending less money to get something done. In addition, you're constantly thinking about alternate ways to execute something. And so if it applies to a material use, like say cardboard or pallet wood types or whatever you want to think about, you're constantly asking yourself, do I really need this quality material? Do I really need this kind of material? Or is this overkill? And you're also thinking about it the other side. If I go one quality higher, or I get something a little bit stronger or a better material than what I need, could that eventually give me the ability to open up an entirely new market or an entirely new thing that I'm trying to execute on that fits the capability of that specific thing that I'm trying to solve? And so you're constantly thinking, how can I use the least amount of money possible to make something happen? And I firmly believe that Tesla's journey from going from Roadster all the way through the Model 3 ramp, especially the Model 3 ramp, it really taught us all that you can do a lot more than you think with way less money. You can make a lot of things happen if you're very creative and you're thinking outside the box. And I encourage you all, if you're an entrepreneur or you're doing anything where you're trying to spend money to make something happen, constantly ask yourself, Do I really need to spend this much money to make this thing happen? Are there ways that I can achieve the same exact thing by thinking outside the box? If you enjoyed this video so far, I would love it if you throw me a like. It helps the algorithm show this video to more people. Thank you very much. The third thing that jumps out to me is that at Tesla, you're expected to wear many hats, meaning that you're expected to solve a lot of different problems that are not strictly in your area of expertise. And this is a perfect analogy to being an entrepreneur. When you're running a company, you're not just a person who is just, paying the employees or running payroll. Especially if you're a small business. You're probably running payroll, you're probably doing the finances, you're probably maintaining the website, you're probably doing the HR tools, you're probably managing the team, you're probably doing customer service, you're setting up processes for the company, you're figuring out the best way to purchase things at the cheapest cost, you're setting up suppliers, you're cleaning, right? There's so many different things that you have to do as a business owner, especially a small business. And of course, this can differ from an e-commerce store to say a brick and mortar store or a developer company or whatever. There's different things, but ultimately, if you own your own company, you have to do so many different things and you have to really problem solve outside of your expertise. And Tesla is the same exact way. And I don't think this is by accident. I think Tesla does this because it allows the best talent, those that have the best ideas, to tackle those specific problems. So you're not really siloing a problem to a group. You're saying, hey, here's a thing that we have to solve. And then those that have the best ideas to solve them naturally gravitate to those areas. The next thing that jumped out to me is that you constantly have to change to the needs of the business, to the needs and the forces that are currently driving the company. So as an example, as a small business owner, if there's a demand shift that's happening in the market, you have to figure out how to cater to that new demand. If your costs are going up, you have to figure out how to cater your solutions and your services to your population so that you don't drive yourself out of business, right? You have to figure out how to keep that nice balance between demand and supply. Or you get so much demand that you don't know how to deal with it and you have all these different problems that come up from having that situation. Tesla is no different. Tesla lives in a world where the EV industry is changing so rapidly and so quickly, mainly because of Tesla, that we constantly have to change our approach. We have to constantly change how we do things. And typically these were crafted around how to tailor ourselves to really be able to service more and more demand, more and more people, more and more facilities, right? And these have a lot of different challenges that come with them. They're very good challenges. They're probably the best things you would want as a business is, hey, I'm growing too fast or there's too much going on. But this is no different than running your own business. You constantly have to change. You constantly have to tailor yourself to the forces that are driving the business. The next thing that jumps out to me is that you're constantly having to think about brand new ideas and brand new ways to execute on the business's goals. And this loosely ties to a couple of the other points that I said here, but I think this is a very specific skill set that's needed to be extremely successful, either as an entrepreneur or working at Tesla. You're constantly thinking about new ways and new ideas on how to make something happen. And Tesla very much expects this from its employees. You're constantly thinking about new ideas. You're constantly thinking about how to be innovative and figuring out new solutions that no one else has thought about on how to approach a problem. And that's exactly the same as being an entrepreneur. What are new products that you can offer? What are new services that you can offer? New ways that you can offer those services? New UIs that allow your customer base to interact with you? You're constantly reinventing yourself. You're constantly figuring out a way to do something better. And Tesla and entrepreneurship is no different. The next thing that jumps out is that you constantly have to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And this is something that very few people truly understand. And it took me a really long time to figure out myself. It's impossible to solve everything yourself. It doesn't matter what you're working on. I can guarantee you that if you have someone next to you or a group of people that you can surround yourself with, you'll be able to solve your problems so much faster and so much more efficiently and so much cheaper. Even if it's somebody that you're checking your strategy with or checking your work, it could be whatever, or somebody that you're tapping to give you some ideas or some inspiration, or somebody that's actually doing the work and you're sort of guiding the ship and taking care of different things about the business or the company. It's so crucial to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. They will help you be so much more effective, and that is no different at Tesla versus being an entrepreneur. And this is something I would tell every single aspiring entrepreneur. Don't feel like you have to know everything yourself. Don't feel like you're forcing yourself to have to be the expert at everything. And don't feel like you're somehow a lesser human being or less smart than you should be because you have gaps. Every single person on planet Earth has gaps. Your job as an entrepreneur or somebody who wants to be successful at Tesla is that you have to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, people that can fill the gaps that you have. And if you do that, you can be way more successful, way faster, and way more efficiently. And last but not least, which I think is probably the most important on this list, is that Tesla teaches you how to survive brutal moments. And what I mean by this is when you have a company like Tesla who's trying to achieve these huge goals and is constantly thinking about how to approach things differently, and they're constantly changing things, there's bound to be moments where everything gets really, 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 really hard to do. One, because you've never done it before, but two, it's because there are external circumstances that are preventing you from trying to get what you need to get done actually done. And when this happens, it creates an environment where you feel very down, or it feels almost impossible to try and knock down that wall or to get to the other side. The Model 3 ramp is a perfect example of this. While I was working at Tesla, the Model 3 ramp period for the company was absolutely brutal. And I can tell you, for us on the service side, it felt really, really painful. There were moments where I would look at the data that we had and I'm like, man, how the hell are we going to make this happen? This feels so impossible. We're going to get fired. Honestly, I felt like that probably more than once, because the problems were just so difficult and they came out of nowhere and so quickly, and you're forced to adapt, and you're failing and you're failing and you're failing. And you're like, oh my God, this is so freaking hard. I can't do it. I'm losing sleep. I can't eat. Okay. If you're an entrepreneur, I guarantee you that you went through the same exact thing probably multiple times. It's extremely difficult to do things from scratch. It's extremely difficult to do things that no one has ever done before in a brand new way. And surviving those moments, having those moments where you're like, wow, I made this happen. I thought I was going to fail for sure, but I made it happen, is so freaking invaluable for confidence. But it gives you an experience. It gives you something that you can hang your hat on that says, I was able to do this. And next time when you face something equally as hard or harder than this, you'll have the confidence and the experience that tells you, hey, I've done this before. I saw this happen, and this is what I did to overcome it. Or these are the things that I thought about that helped me overcome it. Or here are the things that I have to focus on that's going to help me overcome it. Knowing how to survive these moments is invaluable. And I encourage you that if you haven't faced these moments before as an entrepreneur or somebody who's working at a company, if you step outside of your comfort zone to try to make something happen and you face these moments, don't look at them as a negative. Look at them as a positive. It's going to give you so much experience, and it's going to give you such a great tool to overcome adversity that's going to separate you from every single other person that's in the same exact position. If you learn how to survive those brutal moments, you are in the top 0.01% of people that know how to make things happen, even in the hardest circumstances. And the crazy thing is that Tesla has an entire army of people that know how to do this, that have been exposed to this. And so if you take all these things and put them together, what I really think is happening here is that Tesla is accidentally becoming a great school for entrepreneurship. And so if you're somebody that really wants to learn how to be an entrepreneur and is sort of scared or doesn't have the funds to fund their own venture and fund their own company, but they have the capability to join Tesla or join a company like Tesla, I strongly encourage you to do so. Figure out a way to get yourself in that situation, because you will learn so much by being surrounded by the best talent in the world with the toughest problems that we need to solve in an environment that allows you to really explore the best solutions possible with anybody in that company with your own way. And then you're also being held accountable to the fullest. So you can't slack off and be like, this didn't happen. You will be held responsible. And oftentimes we need those moments to really help us push through the fire and go through the coals and get to the other side of that wall. It also helps that Tesla has an incredible mission that people are really working towards, which is to move our entire world to a sustainable future. And I think those things combined really allow people to fully understand what it means to be a problem solver, to be an entrepreneur, which is really what an entrepreneur is. You're a problem solver at the core. And in my opinion, I think Tesla is one of the best, if not the best company that will teach you how to become an entrepreneur. If you'd like to support this channel, I have a link to my Patreon in the description below. And you can also join the channel on YouTube by clicking on the join button right below this video. And if you're interested, I have a special link in my description below for a special deal with Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is a supplement that I use every single morning, and I've used it for months. And I really, really trust it, and it's made me feel great. So if you're interested, feel free to click the link. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Bye-bye.